And it seems subtle and it seems unnoticeable, but these are the types of distractions that we want to get rid of when we are working on a mix, because we don't want people to be distracted or to be annoyed and have that ear fatigue and then stop listening to the song. Then they don't pay attention to the lyrics, and if they're not hearing the words, they're missing the message. So here we are inside of my DAW session for Tell Me You Believe by Denise H. Arnold. And I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of the things that I did to the lead vocal during the mix to make it sound really good in the final master. Sinita Leung, who sang this, first of all, she did a fantastic job, gave me great vocal takes to begin with. All the vocals have already been comped together. Everything has been mix prepped. So this is the final raw vocal before any processing has been applied to it, other than clip gain, which I used to manage most of the leveling of the vocal sections prior to mixing. But this is without any effects or treatment on her voice.
Tell me when you see the beautiful flowers you believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky you believe.
So you can hear that the vocal recording was already really, really good to begin with. So the first thing that I did is I noticed there are some frequencies that we did not need. And so if you take a look here at this EQ, you'll see down here in the low end, there's just some rumble that just creates mud and mess and lacks clarity. So I got rid of that. And then we had this one frequency around 650 that was just kind of making things boxy and sound weird. And I'll highlight that for you so you can really hear it. But first, let's take a look at it on the display.
Tell me when you
can see down here at this end
beautiful flowers
all this
you believe.
unnecessary
Tell me
mud.
when the raindrops fall from the sky.
And so if I isolate this
Tell me
and turn it up for you,
see the sunrise
you can hear that honkiness.
Sunset, you believe.
And so we didn't want
with
that.
All of God's many wonders,
So we just ducked it out a little bit.
Could you not?
Without completely killing the natural curve of the vocal. The next thing I did was I took a de-esser and got rid of some of the sibilance on the S's, like right here on Tell Me When You See. You will actually see the de-esser right here. You'll see it clamp down on that S. But first I'm going to bypass it so you can hear that right on the S. Which can be very fatiguing to an ear after listening to a song, especially if the song has a lot of words that have S's in them. And you might even be listening to a song and wondering, why does this song bother me, or it's hard to listen to? It's because of that ear fatigue if things like this aren't paid attention to during the mix.
Tell me when you see the...
You heard it, tell me when you see. And if I turn on the de-esser, you will actually see it work to get rid of some of that right here.
Tell me when you see.
Which makes it much more pleasant to listen to, especially if you're going to listen to an entire song. And it seems subtle and it seems unnoticeable, but these are the types of distractions that we want to get rid of when we are working on a mix, because we don't want people to be distracted or to be annoyed and have that ear fatigue and then stop listening to the song. Then they don't pay attention to the lyrics, and if they're not hearing the words, they're missing the message. After that, I went ahead and jumped into some compression here, because despite using clip gain to kind of level match things, you still want things to sound natural and to sound dynamic. And so where those things needed to still remain louder, like this one word right here, I didn't want to clip gain it too much. But I was going to let compression even it out a little bit later. But again, we don't want things distracting, so if a word all of a sudden jumps out and sounds too loud, that can be distracting to a listener. So I'm going to bypass this as well and just see if you can hear that bump in volume on this word.
Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky.
So the fall gets really loud from the sky, gets back in, and if I turn on this compressor, you'll see that it's working a little bit here, but when it gets to fall, that it works a little bit harder, almost 4 decibels of gain reduction.
You believe, tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky.
Yeah, about 3 decibels of gain reduction to kind of even out that phrase, and throughout the song to keep the phrases even but still dynamic so that it sounds realistic, it sounds lively, but it's not distracting. When you use compressors, sometimes they will reintroduce some different unwanted frequencies, and so I decided to use a resonance suppressor to reduce some of those. So you can see here what it's doing.
You believe, tell me when you
And
see
if I turn
the
on delta,
sunrise and
you can hear exactly what's being
sunset.
taken out.
You believe
We don't want any of
with
that
all of God's
mess in there.
many wonders. How could you not believe?
So it just makes the vocal a little bit smoother, or it soothes it out as the plugin suggests. So let's bypass and take a listen and turn it on and see what we hear.
Tell me when you see the beautiful
Especially some of those higher
flowers you
frequencies.
believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky. You believe.
And so that's about all that this vocal really needed, in my opinion. But what was missing was, where is the vocal actually singing? Where's the space? Because if you listen to it right now, it's very flat.
Tell me when you see the beautiful
It's just right there.
flowers you believe.
Just very flat in terms of spatial placement. So the first thing that I did was I gave it a little space around its own voice with this delay.
Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky. You believe. Tell me
And
when
when I
you
turn it off, you can really
see
notice its
the
absence.
sunrise and sunset.
And so I gave a little space around the voice with that, and then I sent it to a hall reverb, which I won't get into all the details about which hall reverb I selected and how I set it up, but what I will say is that I did EQ the hall reverb so that we wouldn't get any of the low end of the reverb mess and mud, and trimmed off a little bit of the highs so we don't enhance any sizzle that would be unwelcome, but we keep that reverb warm for the voice. So here's what it sounds like going to, actually let me do this. I'm going to mute the reverb, start it playing, and then I'll turn it on so you can hear it when it kicks in.
Tell me when you see the
That's just the delay.
beautiful flowers you believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky. You believe. Tell me.
You go so you can hear that hall reverb actually kick in, and it makes the voice sound so much more lively, right? So just with those few little things, if I turn off all of those, if I turn off the hall send, this is where we started.
Tell me when you see.
Very flat. And this is where we almost ended, and the reason I say almost is there's one more thing I did after it.
Tell me when you see the beautiful flowers you believe.
So now she actually sounds like she's singing from some space or from a stage somewhere. In context of the mix, what I did notice is some of the smaller words were getting lost, and so I did send it to a parallel compressor. And if I solo that parallel compressor, you'll both see and hear what this compressor is doing. It's just taking the whole signal and smushing it pretty extensively at like -10 or 10 degrees of gain reduction. And the reason we do that is to just thicken up the smaller words that are getting lost by bleeding it in a little bit. -26 decibels is all that I'm actually mixing into the original signal.
Tell me when the raindrops
But you can see how much it's compressing right here.
You believe.
Compressor off.
You see the sunrise and sunset.
And so that signal that's getting pressed down and regained and then bled into the original signal is helping to thicken it up. And you'll notice here that again I did a little bit of EQing of the parallel compression because I don't want to enhance all that mud that's under here, and we had this one weird frequency around 250 that was just making everything sound really boxy.
You believe with all of God's many wonders.
So we don't want that boxiness reintroduced to our vocal. And where this will make the most clear and apparent sense is when you hear how it affects the actual lead. So Here is the lead without the parallel compression, or the parallel compression is being muted.
Tell me when you see the beautiful
And then I'll turn
flowers
it
you
on.
believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky.
And you can hear that vocal just kind of jump out towards you. And where this even makes more sense is in context of the mix. So I'm going to do a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off everything and show you what the voice raw sounds like in context of the mix when the lead vocal has no processing on it.
Tell me when you see the beautiful flowers you believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall.
The voice feels really small and buried and flat and lifeless. And then we process it and send it to the reverb, and we get this.
Tell me when you see the beautiful flowers you believe. Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky. You believe. Tell me.
But wait, there's more. That's without the parallel compression. So the voice of the lead still feels a little bit too small. And so here is the parallel compression.
Tell me when you see the beautiful flowers you believe.
All of a sudden, the lead vocal sounds like a lead vocal. And I'll toggle that on and off so you can hear the difference. No parallel?
Tell me when the raindrops fall from the sky.
Parallel.
You believe. Tell me when you see the
None?
sunrise and sunset. You believe.
So that's what I did on Sinita Leung's lead vocal in Tell Me You Believe, written by Denise Arnold. Check out the full song on Spotify or Amazon or Apple Music, wherever you stream your music for the final production. Because, reminder, this is just the mixing phase, and we actually did some more to enhance it even further in the mastering phase. Until next time, mission minded, mixing and mastering. I'm Justin Reyna. Thanks for stopping by to check this out. Let me know what you're working on and how I can help you mix and master your mission minded music. God bless.